Well, hello there, you amazing, beautiful, wonderful people. I hope you are all well. You beautiful, beautiful people, you. It's the 4th of July still. This is video 2 of 2. I'm just doing 2 today. 2 for the 4th of July. Happy 4th of July. I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic Independence Day and 4th of July weekend. You deserve it. Anyway, we're going to get straight into the meat and potatoes because we are still talking about the Idaho 4 case, and we will continue till we cannot talk about it anymore because there simply isn't going to be anything else to talk about. But I appreciate that people are still interested in the case. I have had an abundance of emails, and there literally is still things to talk about because this is going to be one of those cases that, as I discussed in the in video 1 earlier today, and if you missed that, go back, not yet, after this one, and make sure that you subscribe, turn on the notification bell, like and everything, all that jazz, so you don't miss videos like the one that I did earlier. You don't want to miss them. They're free. $3.99, baby. $3.99, as in $3.99, not like free, so you think that I'm charging you. Bloody hell. But anyway, look, when Bryan Kohberger, before he'd even admitted to doing the crime, which we're kind of, why the fuck did he do that? We're in that kind of territory now. The media were trouncing him. And I know that there is so many things that are still going to come out. You know, we know that there's this book coming out, this James Patterson book. We know I've even got James Patterson books in my shelf over there. I think actually on that shelf. That one there, James Patterson books. Green screen. I was over on a channel, obviously the I Hate Harsh channel, and they were saying, oh, he's had that green screen because he lives in a shithole. Green screen? I've done a fucking house tour, you moron. But anyway, fucking green screen. How many green screens can do that? Ah, fuck. That went wrong. Oh, it's rolled under there and all. Bastard. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, right, let's get straight into the meat and potatoes. I've gone off on a bit of a tangent, but yeah, the media were trouncing him, weren't they? They were attacking him. And we knew that weren't going to stop. In fact, I knew that as soon as he had done this, I thought the media are going to have a fucking field day with this. And they are. Let's go through this article, because this is a special one, this. This is a special one. They know Bryan Kohberger. They know why he did it and everything. Experts blow the lid off the mystery of Bryan Kohberger and make a terrifying discovery about who he really is. So you think, look, they're now saying they've made a discovery. Made a discovery, mate. Now, I saw that and I thought, oh my God, what have they found? They've found something that's going to put all this to bed, because they're literally saying, oh, we've found something. They've made a discovery about who he really is. Maybe they've found like memoirs or something he was writing. He's been writing something. Anyway, let's get back into it. So, Bryan Kohberger may have finally admitted to killing 4 University of Idaho students, but for those who want to know why he did it, the mystery is far from solved. In court this week, the 28-year-old criminology PhD student pleaded guilty to the November 2022 stabbings of Ethan Chapin, Kaylee Gonsalves, Xana Knodel, and Madison Mogan. I don't understand why there are so many of these bigger channels as well, these big channels, that can't even say these victims' fucking names right. I have heard that their names by some of these channels have been butchered more than they were. I'm telling you, it's fucking criminal. But experts say Kohberger's demeanor, blank, emotionless, even poised, offered a disturbing glimpse into a personality that defines easy classification. What did they think he was going to do? How did they think that he was going to do his plea? What were they looking for? That they thought he was going to stand up and go, guilty, I'm guilty, woo-hoo, all that. Do you know what I mean? He just stood there, guilty. What the fuck did you expect him to do? Can you say guilty while you do star jumps? Of course I can. Guilty. Then what would they have been reporting? Bryan Kohberger clearly insane because he does star jumps while he admits guilt to the 2022 stabbings of these victims. Can't do right for doing wrong. The Daily Mail spoke to 3 psychologists and criminologists who have examined the available footage, reports, and public history of Kohberger. All say the emerging picture is of a man whose internal world was shaped by rejection, isolation, and control, and possibly obsession. This is going to be an interesting one. I don't know whether James Patterson wrote this, actually. They say Kohberger doesn't fit neatly into any of the typical mass murderer categories. He wasn't driven by ideology, delusion, or a personal vendetta. How the fuck do you know? How do you know that it wasn't a personal vendetta, for instance? We don't know why he did it. If he did it, we don't know if he did it at all. He's admitted to it. So from the eyes of the law, he's guilty, he done it. But personal vendetta, how the fuck do you know it weren't a personal vendetta? It says ideology, delusion, nor does the attack resemble a spontaneous outburst or a targeted revenge. Really? Really? There were people inside that house who didn't die and literally stood arm's length away from him. He went into 2 specific rooms. Now, it would appear that there was one specific room that he went to, and the other one may have been an afterthought. And look, I will just say this. Some people, me, myself, I did during the hearing, I was questioning when they talked about it being premeditated, and sort of thought, well, it's not premeditated that he went into this house to kill, say, Xana and Ethan, if we believe in the running down the stairs story. I still struggle with this because I still feel that if this transpired in this way, that Xana Canode will come out of a room or whatever, and there was some sort of chase or run, then again it feeds into, what did the surviving housemates really hear? Did they not fucking hear anything? Was this all like a silent movie? I've said it before, and that's why I question things, because I try and make it make sense, and it just don't a lot of the time. But look, with respect of premeditation doesn't have a time factor attached to it. It doesn't. Like, some people think premeditation, so they will think, right, so this person has sat down and they've thought to themselves, right, I'm going to go into this house and I'm going to go and kill that person, that person, that person, that person. Then they make their plan, they do it, and then they go and do it. They think of that as premeditation. So what it could be is you are going into a house, and the premeditation is that you're going to go into this house and you are going to do something bad. So this is where the burglary charge comes into it. You enter a house to commit a crime. He enters in the house. He then executes 2 individuals. That's premeditated because he's literally gone in there to do that. And then when you look at what could have happened, so if Xana runs up, for instance, goes up and says hello, he looks down and then chases after or whatever, he has made a conscious decision to go after that individual. And then the fact that he's then attacked that individual is again indicative of, I'm attacking this individual to kill them. I don't want to leave a witness. Well, not more than 2. Just, do you know what I mean? So the premeditation, it could literally be that you've thought, I'm going to attack this person, and then you got that's enough. That's enough. But anyway, let's get back into this revealing article. So it says, instead, experts say his actions suggest a more complex blend of control, obsession, and thrill-seeking that defies traditional classification. What follows is their assessment of who Bryan Kohberger may be and what could have driven him to commit one of the most horrifying mass killings in recent memory. Rejection by women. As far as we know, he was rejecting women. One in particular. And again, we don't know that to be 100% accurate, but that seems to be what they're suggesting, is that he had a chance of being with somebody and he actually turned them down. So a consistent theme in Kohberger's background is his struggle to form meaningful relationships, particularly with women. Now, you could go on to say, look, we know that he got this number of this individual at his party, had reached out, and she had ignored him. Well, you'd think if that was something that was bothering him to the point where he was going to fucking kill someone, that during that exchange, would you not have expected him to at least message again and say, hello, did you get my last message? Are you ignoring me? Do you know what I mean? Show even an inkling, an escalation of such. Do you know what I mean? But there was none of that. He reached out. He'd had a conversation about his interest. He'd reached out. That person ignored him, and he just didn't go back into it again. Maybe some people argue maybe he just bottled it up and it just went bang. Who knows? There are no reports of long-term partners or past girlfriends, and the only confirmed account is a Tinder date in 2015 in which Kohberger allegedly followed a woman back to her dorm and refused to leave, only leaving when she pretended to vomit. If it's the person that I am thinking, that's not completely how that story went, but that date is very, very revealing, said Dr. Raj Praswad, a UK-based psychiatrist. It suggests that he had difficulty taking relationships further than a first date. Well, no, you could argue that the other person was the one who struggled taking, there is something about him and his character that means girls want nothing to do with him. There is some sort of creepiness. No, again, that is completely not what we've seen. In fact, there is females who have stuck up and spoken extremely highly of Bryan Kohberger. So again, this is complete and utter bollocks. And I know what people are going to be doing. They're going to say, "Oh, you're sticking up for this killer. You're sticking up." No, I'm not. It's not about sticking up for anybody. It's about understanding where we've got to, how we got here, and still reading this kind of shit. For the most of us, what happens is that if we get rejected, we might go away and work on our social skills so we can understand the rejection better and improve, he said. Not necessarily. Like I said, if I'd messaged a girl who I fancied and she didn't message me back, I'd probably message her again and go, Oi, I'm messaging you. You know what I mean? I don't think I'd have been as graceful as Bryan Kohberger. Oh, fuck, I'm clearly not interested. I would think that how can this person not want to message me back? Maybe their phone battery's dead. Maybe, I don't know what's happened. Maybe I need to go around there and see her face to face, make sure she's okay. Maybe she's in danger. I could be like a knight. But what you see with some people is that they become angry with girls when they are rejected and then believe girls are withholding something from them. This anger, he said, can simmer over time and eventually explode. Kohberger went through a drastic weight loss transformation in high school, reportedly dropping 100 pounds in a short span, which may also signal a young man desperate to reinvent himself. No, it just means you don't want to be fat fuck anymore. That's like me. Do you know what I mean? I've lost what, 68 pounds. Maybe I'm wanting to reinvent myself and I'll go on to commit a heinous crime. I doubt it, because there is absolutely no correlation between losing weight and becoming a mass murderer. But peers said the change in appearance came with an aggressive edge, with reports that he began putting friends in headlocks and exhibiting controlling behavior. How many friends have I put in a headlock? Too many to count. Though Kohberger also murdered a male student, Ethan Chapin, experts believe Chapin may not have been the intended target but was simply present at the wrong time. Well, he could have left Ethan Chapin because they're trying to say that Ethan Chapin was passed the fuck out. So he could have just killed everyone else and fucking walked out. And they're also saying that he carved his legs up. So again, this is why this crime to me is indicative of rage and anger towards specific individuals. You've heard of the injuries. Steve Gonsalves yesterday was talking about the injuries sustained by Kaylee Gonsalves. Look at the injuries sustained between Kaylee Gonsalves and Ethan Chapin. Do you know what I mean? There's something. It's a real hatred, and it seems to be these four individuals. Let's not forget that he didn't kill everyone in that house. Erotomania, an obsession. This is a fucking good one, this one. Another possibility is that Kohberger believed he had a special connection to one of the female victims, whether or not any relationship actually existed. Dr. John Brady, a forensic psychologist with 25 years' experience, believes Kohberger may have suffered from erotomania, defined as a delusional belief that someone is in love with you. This rejection situation of women rejecting his advances can tie into what is called erotomania, he told this website. It is a kind of love gone bad situation where an individual initially wants to pursue someone as a love object, but then something goes wrong. He said it could lead someone to act out aggressively if the object of their emotions is seen as being unfaithful. He said it could also trigger aggression. Dr. Brady noted that this kind of delusion has led to violence in other high-profile cases, including the 1989 murder of actress Rebecca Schaefer by her stalker, Robert John Bardo. While prosecutors say there is no confirmed link between Kohberger and the victims, the family of Gonsalves has pointed to an Instagram account that they believe, because the Gonsalves family have pointed to an Instagram account that they believe, well, if it did belong to him, the court would know about it, and there would then be a fucking connection, wouldn't there? The fact that the court themselves have said there was no connection pretty much means that that's shite, too. The same account, which vanished shortly after Kohberger's arrest in December 2022, had reportedly messaged one of the victims 2 weeks before the attack with the phrase, "Hey, how are you?" Again, if this was Bryan Kohberger, you could pretty much guarantee that the prosecution would have known about it, and that would have been utilized as the connector between him and them. 100%. 100%. The thrill kill. Criminologist Dr. Megan Sachs offered another theory. Kohberger may have killed not out of anger or obsession, but curiosity. I think it's very possible that when looking at the motive, this is what we call a thrill kill, she told the Daily Mail. That is the worst kind because there is no motivation. I think he wanted to see it, what it felt like to see someone, to choose a target, and then see what it was like to kill them. And then we obviously have this selfie, which if Bryan Kohberger is guilty of this crime, and again, he's pleaded guilty to it, so in the eyes of the law, he is guilty. And I would say that if he is guilty of this crime, this to me seems to be something that kind of fits. No connection found. Nothing really, not stalking of the individuals, no proof of stalking, but in the area. So was he just overall looking at all of the properties, and this just house seemed to have a lot of people around it, so he thought, fuck, I'm going to go in there and just, do you know what I mean? Because that kind of fits, I would say, and I'm just putting that out there, if Bryan Kohberger genuinely is 100% guilty of this crime, I would put him in that category. But because there were so many fucking mistakes made, which we'll dig into in another video, probably over the weekend, just how many mistakes this guy, how many mistakes he made from the fucking get-go. From the get-go. He had even posted a survey online asking ex-convicts about how they chose their victims and what emotions they felt during their crimes. But again, this was just something that was connected to what he was studying and had been okayed by the faculty. So I don't see why they keep bringing that up. I mean, he is a criminology major and he had looked at certain case scenarios, and some of the research he did coincided with this, Dr. Sachs added. She compared his psychological profile to that of Joanna Dennehy, a British serial killer who murdered 3 men in 2013 and later said she did it to see how it would feel. So who is Bryan Kohberger? Experts agree Bryan Kohberger is not easy to define. He is not the typical mass killer. He wasn't visibly radicalized or acting on a known ideology. Instead, he seems to have operated from a mix of internal pleasures, rejection, delusion, curiosity, and a desire of control. And let's just look at this for a second, right? So they're saying there's nothing that would say that he's visibly radicalized. There's no known ideology that they can connect to Bryan Kohberger. So nothing what would typically be apparent when they look at him, which to me is a red flag, because we're in this void of, is he pleading guilty because he did it, or is he pleading guilty because he just didn't want the death penalty and he'd been convinced that that was what was likely going to happen, which is something that we have to consider. We do have to, we don't have to. You don't have to consider. That's what I have to consider, because I have to fucking know everything and I just think about everything. So what they then have to do, because he doesn't fit into what they would expect, they then have to make shit up. And that's what they're doing here. Delusion. Rejection. Who the fuck rejected him? He rejected a female himself. Again, if that story's true. And do you know what I mean? Internal pressures, delusion, curiosity. I don't know. You're then making stuff up. Kohberger's courtroom demeanor was also revealing. Though he showed no emotion during the plea hearing, he made deliberate choices, standing when he didn't need to, maintaining fixed eye contact and speaking clearly. But he stood because he was addressing the court. He had stood up out of respect of Judge Hippler. Judge Hippler told him he didn't have to stand. He thanked it. He thanked him because of, he was obviously showing respect. And this is something that we've heard, not from snotty-nosed little fucking students who want to put the boot in, but everybody else who has had something to do with Bryan Kohberger has spoken about him extremely highly. Extremely highly. And even in that courtroom, he is just, he's put himself out there as just, I think this is why a lot of people struggle as well. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying, and I still won't say that it's 100% that the guy's innocent of the crime. I'm not saying that. And, I know that a lot of the guilters will have clicked off by now. I'm not saying that Bryan Kohberger is innocent of this crime. What I'm saying is I haven't seen him being proven to be guilty. And even in situations like this, they're saying he just don't fit what you would expect. The typical mass killer sort of box, if you like. He's out of it. And then, again, I have to then start making shit up. But it's bizarre. We also know that he's got ASD, which is, again, exactly what Ann Taylor had feared. About how people would pick up on certain character traits he had, maintaining fixed eye contact and speaking clearly. The guy was fucking ASD. He was ASD, and these are typical behaviours of someone with ASD, and they are physically being used against him here to paint him out to be a killer and using that as an anchor point for it. So, again, there you go. And it just carries on talking absolute shite. So we don't learn anything. It's just this media who you've now got specialists who are coming out, and even the specialists can't fucking work it out. So again, that should be a red flag. When even the specialists are like, we're scratching our fucking heads here, and then they start having us make stuff up, and even utilising statements made from the Gonsalvers that make absolutely no sense, against what the court themselves have stated, in order to make things that they've said make sense. I don't get it. Let me know down below what you think, and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Have a fantastic 4th of July, guys. Mwah.